So I'm going to talk about what are the different components of this epi-eugenics agenda to eradicate anger, because it's a multifaceted approach and it has many different techniques, okay? So one of the big overarching components or the psychological operations of this epi-eugenics agenda is the New Age movement. And, you know, look, first of all, I consider myself a spiritual teacher, okay? Most people would hear a presentation like this and go, this is nothing like any other spiritual teaching that I've ever heard in my life. I've gone to the New Age Expo, I've gone to the Mind, Body, Spirit Expo, all these, and I've never heard anybody talk like this. How could this be considered spirituality? Because this is spirit in the flesh, boots on the ground, okay? Yes, the stellar man and the stellar woman has their head in the stars, but their feet are firmly anchored upon the earth because that is where the great work is done. That is where the process of alchemical transformation takes place, right in the here and now. Not in some lofty, otherworldly realm or other dimension. It takes place within the self, in the here and now. Okay? So the New Age movement, as I've always talked about, I have many lectures that I call New Age bullshit. There's 3 variants of it. Okay? This is about the suppression of the sacred masculine dynamic in our society. This is a stand-down movement. Get the people to stand down and accept everything, even if it's vile and evil. Acceptance, acceptance, acceptance. There are things we should never accept and never normalize, because there is such a thing as the objective difference between right behavior and wrong behavior. And when wrongdoing is being conducted, we should not let it run amok. We should strive to correct it by reaching people's minds and getting into, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Why do you even think that this is okay? You know, as Max said earlier, we all know the difference between right and wrong. We don't even need to be told. We know what it feels like to be wronged. Don't do that to other people. That's the golden rule. It's that simple. Okay? So in my lectures on New Age bullshit, I talk about how one of the main principles of this psychological warfare operation called the New Age movement is never get angry. Teach people never express especially righteous indignation. Okay? They teach people this calmness, meditate, do yoga. Okay? Those are negative emotions. A lot of the New Age movement, not all of it, okay, not a blanket statement, but a lot of them want to purge anger. Okay? They don't want the inner Hulk coming out. Okay? The Hulk was always my favorite comic book character, favorite Marvel superhero above them all. I just loved him above them all because I think I inherently intuited and recognized that what he was basically a representation of is our very first right, the primordial human right. The right that supersedes everything else and comes first before every other right is the right to be left alone. And as many different philosophers have said in different ways, there are only 2 kinds of people on this planet: those who wish to be left alone and those who refuse to leave them alone. And when the Hulk wasn't left alone, you wouldn't like him. See, we need that inner Hulk, right? I say we need to go beyond even the Hulk. We need an inner psychopath, because there's a very distinct difference between being a psychopath and having a psychopath. See, now we're getting into deep, dark shadow material that many people don't like to look at. But I would look every person in the face and say, if you don't have a psychopath as part of the characteristic makeup of your personality, if you don't have one in that tool set, then you are an incomplete being. Not only that, I would say you have the beginnings, at least, of the characteristics that make a slave. And most people don't want to look at that, because they want to think we're here to be somehow perfect angelic beings. And let me tell you something, folks, if you believe that, you've swallowed some New Age bullshit. Okay? This is about very real-world expressions. I've always tried to take it down to the expression of the higher form, the perfect form of the principle and bring that down into the world and then apply it. Because knowledge and principles not actively applied in the real world aren't worth much. So as part of this presentation, my friend Nate did this awesome drawing, this awesome painting of me as the Hulk. He even put the Anarchadelphia symbol on the podium. You know, look at that. That is just brilliant. Got the Tesla coils on both sides. Thank you, Nate Cap. Just brilliant artwork. Okay, I figured that'd be a little levity in the middle of something very serious, you know.